Hey neighbor, welcome back to Beyond ARTV. My name is John and it's time for a little sit-down video where I talk about something that's been bouncing around my headspace. I mean, it flares up from time to time, and I've never really addressed it in a video formally, and it does kind of make my skin crawl when I hear these things, when these accusations or comments are thrown my way, and it's definitely not an overwhelming majority, but the question on the table, what's the most offensive thing that you could say to me as a music critic or a music fan? You can call this an episode of the Think Tank, I suppose we could label it that, but really it's just an opportunity for me to sit down and address these accusations that occasionally will flare up and spiral, people discussing, oh, does this happen? Is this something that goes on behind the scenes with John from ARTV? And so let's go ahead and set the record straight. What's the most offensive thing that you could say to me as a music critic or a music fan? Well, first of all, I would gladly own the music critic label, but before anything else, I think a lot of people tend to forget that I am a music fan. I wouldn't have started my channels, I wouldn't be doing what I do if I didn't love music. So while I do criticize music, I offer discussion on it, I'm a music fan before anything else. So what's the most offensive thing that you could say to me? It's that my opinion is for sale, that I can be bought off, that I can be paid under the table from a label, an executive, a band, or whatever else to give a positive review, or even, I guess I have been accused a few times of being paid to give a negative review to something like, oh, you're just shitting on this album because you were paid off to do it. You don't really hate Five Finger Death Punch. Well, I do have news for you. Unfortunately, in some cases, it is the music that does them in. It's not money on the table. And I think the thing that maybe confuses some people and maybe why they feel that way is because I have made it pretty clear in the past that I do get advanced copies of albums pretty regularly. It's not every single album every week that I'm able to attain in some sort of just before everybody else fashion I'm cutting the line. No, just because over the years I've built up so many contacts, and I do, not to pat myself on the back too much, but I have a sizable following, and label execs, record PR teams, bands themselves look at that and say, I want to get this in your hands because we want you to listen to it and we want you to talk about it. It seems like it's an easy concept for me to wrap my head around, but for some people they just think, oh, well, this doesn't make any sense at all. There must be some sort of cash arrangement where he's getting paid to love the Green Day album or this other album that he got in advance. I got Soccer Mommy's album, I got the Grey Days album, the Chester Bennington Project. I got that 3 months in advance. It doesn't come out till April, and I've had it since January. These things are actually pretty common occurrences for me. And the reason why I find it so insulting to say to me that my opinion is for sale, that I could be bought off, is because I genuinely work really hard to formulate my opinions, listen to records enough times, a decent amount of times, at least 3 times at minimum, to form an opinion, to put it out in the world, to work on a review, whether that be a rapid review, 60 seconds, or a full album review, maybe coverage in some sort of roundup show. I always put thought, probably a little bit too much thought, into these things, and to say that I'm being paid for it, or, oh, well, you only gave it a positive review because you don't want to stop getting those albums from the label in advance. That's fine. It wouldn't really hurt me if I stopped getting those records. And if the label is that angry that maybe I gave a 3-star review to something that they gave me a week or 2 early, then fine, cut me off in the future, because that's just gonna have to be okay, because again, my opinion is not going to change based on whether or not they're giving me access to things or giving me extra perks early. Generally, it doesn't even go beyond that. They send it out to so many publications that they don't even blink. And I have actually never been asked by a label, by a manager, by a band to give something a positive review. I've never felt that hanging over my head like, oh God, I really hope I like it or else I'm just not gonna put out a review because I don't want to be honest. I genuinely put out reviews based on the snapshot of how I'm feeling at that time. And while opinions definitely do change, I obviously have a series called I Got It Wrong, where I will admit my former bias or something that maybe I missed the first time around. That review at the time is always a snapshot of how I felt in that moment after listening to that record and my initial spins on my initial plays through. Now, I know what you're probably thinking, or possibly it popped into your mind. Don't you have a Patreon, John, where people can submit music and they're paying you, they're supporting the channel financially, and then you review their music? Yes, that is a perk of a couple of the different tiers. The main one that you're probably thinking of is the $10 tier, where people can submit their EP or single for me to review on social media, Twitter or Facebook. And I will post out my thoughts on that material because that is a perk of them supporting me. But in the fine print, we're actually right there, not even in the fine print, it states that this does not guarantee a positive review. It only guarantees that I will cover it in some form on social media. I will link to your music, everything like that. But I think, as some of my patrons will actually tell you, I have been critical when I need to be critical. Just because you're supporting me over there financially, it doesn't guarantee a gold star on your EP. It doesn't guarantee that you're gonna get some sort of preferential treatment, that you're gonna be put on a pedestal because you're somebody that's gone out of the way to support ARTV. While I always do appreciate the support, I think it would be even more insulting if I was taking money from a patron and then in turn I just lied about their music and said, oh, this is great, this is fantastic, I love it, if I don't actually feel that way. And I think the patrons would agree that do support me, that they want my honest feedback. A lot of times these are small artists that are looking to put themselves out there, and they genuinely want to know, what could I improve on? Or what do you think about the lyrics? What do you think about the sound? Is there a clash between the production and the overall writing style? There are so many things on the table, but one of them is not money, an incentive to give a positive review. Because again, look back through my Twitter or Facebook and you will find a log of some more negatively inclined Patreon reviews. Unfortunately, that's not a shout out to anybody who I haven't enjoyed. It's just not been my thing personally, or maybe I thought some tweaks could be made, but you're also going to find positive. There is an ebb and flow and a lot of stuff that I've genuinely enjoyed. But at the end of the day, to say that my opinion is for sale is very insulting to me, I think more than anything else, based on the fact that I love music so much. And to sit in front of a camera and lie about my opinion, what would the point be? I appreciate you guys watching this video, and maybe this came off as a little bit defensive, but it just gets me a little bit heated thinking about it, and I hate the fact that there's probably people out there that do feel that I'm being bought off or paid under the table in exchange for some sort of perk or cash reward. But I would love to know your thoughts on this. Are there publications out there that you don't trust because you do feel that they're hand in hand working closely with a label or an artist? Because I know this does happen. I'm not going to name names, but I genuinely feel that this happens pretty often with maybe some major print publications, maybe some old school ones, maybe some new digital ones. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below.